One of these things I was surprised to have happen once I hit the empty nest and retirement life phase was friendships, discovering friendships, having new friendships, and enjoying finding new friends along the way, sometimes in the most surprising places. In this video, we're going to meet an important figure in American history from his childhood, and we're going to meet a friend that may be a friend you've had for a long time, who I just recently met. Let's go.
Julie! Hey, Kelly, how are you? What are you doing here?
It was a rainy June day when Kelly and I decided to visit Ferry Farm, the childhood home of our first president, George Washington. But even these gardens had an authentic feel. One of the things I love about traveling and house sitting is I get to meet fellow YouTubers like Kelly. And this is the second time we've met. The first time was really quick. And this time I'm getting to spend some more time with her actually visiting Ferry Farm, George Washington's childhood home. So I was wondering, from Kelly's perspective, what was it like growing up in Virginia near where George Washington grew up?
I didn't really appreciate it until I got older. My dad is really, really into history, but love you, Dad, if you ever see it. But he kind of has a boring way of presenting it. So as kids, we hated all the history stuff he made us do. And I didn't appreciate history until I grew up and just started reading books and realized these are real people, real stories, real lives, and history is really just a story of people's lives. It's not a bunch of dates you had to memorize in school. I was an adult when I moved a little closer to here, where his boyhood home, but now I really appreciate growing up in Virginia, where all this history happened: the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, the first 5 presidents. The most presidents tied with Ohio.
I just learned that today. Kelly teaches me so much. Every time I'm with her, I learn new things. One of the things that fascinated me, and you've been here on field trips with your kids, right? And so there's a lot of archaeology. And again, mind blown, the smallest little things, like we saw those, what were they for? The wigs?
The curlers. For the men, not the women.
Yeah, it's like, I never thought about having curlers for your wig. It's so different. It's not just about the wars and the fighting. It's about the people.
Who was George Washington?
Person? And who was he as a little guy?
Right.
Like, I learned today that his dad was named Augustine, and that George Washington was the eldest of his second family. He actually his dad had a family, and I'm guessing he became widowed, and then he had this other second family with Mary Washington, George's mom. So interesting.
Yes, and a lot of things are named after his mom, Mary Washington, in this town. So,
so much to learn.
A hospital, a school, a lot. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I love this named after a woman. Of
Yes,
course.
yes.
I'm really into women's history.
Right.
Oh, there's our tour guide.
Oh.
It shocked me to learn that this was going to turn into a super Walmart until the George Washington Foundation found out and started to do some in-depth archaeological and historical excavation to find out more and prevent us from losing this treasured site. This could have been lost entirely to all of us. Curators in the museum made sure all the details were covered, including this quote from George Washington over what a chalkboard would have looked like when he was learning in the home. He was never schooled outside of home. Again, they were ahead of their time in some ways. This is where I learned about his family line and how his family was actually the second of Augustine Washington. The furniture and the house itself was recreated by the records from archaeologists and documents like the notebooks of Augustine Washington, George's father, who wrote copious notes about the minutiae and details of what was in the home. They knew, for example, that Mary Washington, when she was widowed, worked exceptionally hard to keep her son's place in the society as members of the gentry class. Mary had fancy things, and when these fancy things broke, she glued them back together so she could still look like she was doing well, even when they had financial difficulties. George wrote this booklet to show that he was, in fact, a gentleman. Later on in life, he often compared himself unfavorably with the others because of his lack of education, his lack of the ability to travel to foreign countries. If you've seen the musical Hamilton, you will hear some of this lack of faith in George's general abilities because he went on retreat more often than we've heard in our history books. We entered in the back of the home, what would have been the back of the home, but is easier to access than the front of the home, this is how it may have looked in colonial times. You can see the ferry. The ferry was there before the Washingtons moved in, hence the name Ferry Farm. In the hot Virginia summers, they would open this front door off the Rappahannock River, and people could get cooled off by the soft breezes coming up from the river and where the ferry crossing was. Naturally, my attention perked up whenever there was any note of writing, notes, correspondence, journaling. Of course, they didn't call it that then, but desks. I was all over that. Well, meanwhile, I was encouraging Kelly to get into hijinks that she probably would not have done on her own without me. We also learned that George shared his bedroom with his brothers. So there were 4 boys in one room, 2 boys to each bed with a small fireplace. Their sister Betty got a much more luxurious taste of living. Betty had this bedroom, the same size as her 4 brothers, though the evidence of these surveying tools tell us that George probably stayed there after he had moved to Mount Vernon and visited.
Not only was the place miraculous and magical, the building a friendship with Kelly was equally, if not more, extraordinary. And I believe these friendships are out there for all of us. They may be right in your backyard. They may be right down the street. And they might be at your next house sit or the next time you're on vacation. The biggest awareness was sometimes the real history being made is not the ground under our feet, but it is the relationships and what we are learning side by side and applying to our own experiences that matter the most. Kelly and I had the same experience, and what she noted later was, wow, you noticed stuff I didn't notice at all. And I'm betting that there are things that Kelly noticed that I simply wasn't paying attention to. And that is what happens with relationships. You build each other up and you grow and discover more, no matter what your age. I'm going on 65 and I couldn't be happier because I'm keeping my mind, heart, and curiosity open.
I realized there's one piece that I left out about Ferry Farms itself. The reason why the archaeologists were such big superheroes is one of the things that I inferred, but I don't know if I said clearly enough, is that the home and the buildings that are rising up at Ferry Farms are not the actual home that George Washington's family lived in when he was a little boy. They are replicas, and how they were made because of the archaeologists' work and because of documents, and they rebuilt it using craftsmen who are well versed in that era. So historians, archaeologists, artists, craftsmen, craftspeople made this incredible place. In fact, what Kelly and I noticed was that you could actually smell the freshness of the wood. It didn't even get started until 2008, so it's all relatively new. It's all 21st century work done in the 18th century style and technology and all of that wonder that I hope that we'll all remember. We'll look back on with joy and can hopefully be around for a couple hundred more years. Another thing I wanted to say about my friend Kelly. I'm so grateful that we got to spend the time in Ferry Farms. And what she did is a great testimony to what good friends do. You look for activities that you believe your friend will enjoy. Kelly knew that I liked history. She'd been paying attention to my videos. And so when she offered to see George Washington's family home when he was a child, you better believe I jumped on that one. The other thing is a couple days later, we got together here at the house where I'm house sitting, and we went swimming. She went swimming, I went swimming. I went swimming. Or it's more like lounging around in a pool, just enjoying the company. And it was like being in high school again. I have not had an afternoon where I lounged around in a pool for several hours just for fun in decades. This is what happens when you get to the empty nest phase and the retirement age era of your life. You have more freedom to do things like this, to lounge around a pool in the afternoon. One of the special joys is I got to meet Kelly's daughter. That was really fun. And I don't know, it really felt like I was a neighborhood friend. And that's kind of what happens with YouTube. You get to see each other on an everyday basis and grow and grow and grow. So my challenge is that as I am moving to a new place, is to continue to build friendships far and wide and close. So I will be making more videos about friendship at this stage of life. I hope that you'll continue to watch them because they are a joy to make. Although I will say, making videos featuring my YouTube friends always makes me a little bit nervous because I want nothing more than for them to be pleased with what I create with and on their behalf. So those of you who are YouTube creators, have you made friends on YouTube? Have you met your YouTube friends face to face? What was that like? Another thing is, do you have a YouTube friend wish list? People who you would really love to hang out with. While I'm going to be packing my nomad bag up for a while, at least the next probably 6 months to a year, I will be staying closer to home. There's like a big circle, 200-mile circumference that I'm willing to travel in. My ex-brother-in-law used to say, you Jordans would drive 8 hours for a cup of coffee. And I'm like, and you have a problem with that? Still holds true. So literally, if you are as far south as Virginia, as far north as Boston, and as far west, my western is Ohio, which would include like Kentucky and whatever is south, some parts of Tennessee. I would also really like to get to Illinois. I may just be doing that recreationally. I have friends who I've been wanting to see there. And if I go to Illinois way, then of course I'll be going through Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. And I'd love to meet up with any of you who are interested. We could do some collaboration. It would be a lot of fun. Thank you so much for watching this video. I look forward, as always, to the next time we get together. There were bloopers, but I'm not going to bloopify anything because I need to get this baby published. Kelly, thank you so much for being the great person you are and for sharing your life with me. It is a pleasure, and I look forward to the next time we get together so we can do some of the other things we talked about. I'm feeling theater. Take good care. Bye, everybody.